They manage to appear out of nowhere in your living room, play an intimate set, and invoke every ghost from a 20-mile radius through your front door before leaving as quickly as they came. That's a great review.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Audiophiles. My name's John. His name's Andy.
It gets me every time.
And we're here to listen to music. Now then, I wish I was like you, easily amused. Find my nest assault. Everything's my fault. I'll take all the blame. Aqua seafoam shame. Sunburn. Freezer burn. Choking on the ashes of her enemy. More on that another time, perhaps. But I've got a tune to listen to. And because it's Friday, the tune has been served up by one of our wonderful viewers, Steve Chandler, XV4YV. I don't know what that means. Is it his serial number? Is it his guarantee number? Who knows? Or does
Make it model.
But we appreciate Steve offering up this track. As usual, we've divvied them up and we spun the bottle and it's landed on Andy. So the band is the Willard Grant Conspiracy, WGC for short. Okay. And the track is The Ghost of the Girl in the Well.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with WGC?
I am not, actually. So this is all, the name of the act is kind of intriguing. When you add conspiracy to anything, right? It raises an eyebrow. And then the name of the song is also very, very intriguing. So I'm kind of like low-key excited to see what this is all about with the name of the band and the name of the song so intriguing as they are.
Yes, I won't give anything away, but I really enjoyed digging into this. So yeah.
Okay.
You toddle off, have a listen to Steve's recommendation, and then come back and tell us what you think. I'll chip in, and hopefully I've got some factoids as well for you to chow down on.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll do just that. So we've got this kind of like southerny, bluesy kind of aesthetic going on with this song. Really beautifully picked guitars going on and some very kind of morose sounding, I guess, violin strings there. Really, really sad sounding, to be honest with you. There's also this like thrumming of the bass that's kind of judiciously peppered in thus far. And it does give this quite a, kind of a sad aesthetic. And then you add to this the imagery here of these like children, I don't like Dust Bowl or, sort of kind of post-bellum era America. I don't know. At least so far, that's kind of the vibes I'm getting. I have no idea if this video is part of the I don't know if this is like the band's release or if this is or the label's release or if this is just a fan video. But yeah, really pretty music so far. It sounds like it's going to be quite sad, but it is also quite beautiful.
The ghost of the girl and well killed by man, who owned my family. many years since I fell. So many years, but still no one has found me.
I don't know what that was, but just then there was this kind of in the background, this almost kind of wailing sound, and given the subject matter of the song, for to believe the title, it's quite fitting sound that they've like employed here. His voice has like a generous dollop of Johnny Cash to it, sort of that outlaw country kind of delivery, a little gruff, but I really like it. It fits the music so well. So well. Let's take that back just a little bit. I kind of want to hear that wailing in the back again.
14 years old when I died. The earth had turned, fields were alive, so alive.
Her voice, yeah, that's something worth noting. Now we have the second vocalist, right, joining the fray here. Ooh, her voice also really lends itself to the subject matter that's kind of implied in the title. Kind of a flinty, airy voice. And I hate to use this descriptor. Well, I don't hate to. It's just a descriptor that's like, it goes really well with the title as well. It's very haunting. There's this haunting sound to her voice. Is this the voice of the ghost of the girl? I don't know. Sounds like it could be.
Mister called out to me, and I ran. I didn't want to be under him anymore. Goes to the girl in the well, I was trying to hide, fingers slipped. In the darkness I cried, oh how I cried.
Sorry for the pauses. There's this like wavering high pitched sound in the back, and I don't know if that's being provided by like a theremin or something like that, but it's this. It also adds to the haunting aesthetic that I think that they're going for, and it sounds so damn good. It sounds perfect for as like a vessel to tell the story. Yeah, it's an excellent vehicle to like carry this theme of the song, and I really like it. It's not a lot of moving pieces, but there's a lot of really beautifully crafted pieces to this number.
All these tears taken by this water. killed by a man who owned my family.
Yeah, it's so interesting how a song can capture something as lascivious as what is being depicted in this song, and still make it a beautiful thing. Like, what is being the story that's being told is fucking awful, but it's delivered in such a way that makes it makes the sorrow kind of beautiful in its own really weird way. It's an interesting dynamic. I mean, for me as the listener, it's an interesting feeling where you're struggling with this dichotomy, or this, like, this dynamic of something, a story that's really really horrible. Obviously, this girl, was having what was being done to this girl was awful, by this man who was essentially, I don't know if, like, he was a slave owner, or had regency over the land where this girl's family were sharecroppers or something like that. But obviously, awful things were being perpetrated against her by this guy. She decided she didn't want it anymore. Never wanted it to begin with, and ran, and I guess tried to hide in a well. And it didn't end well for her. And that's yeah, it's a sad song, but it is really beautiful. This guy's voice has so much grit to it, and her voice had all this airiness, this sort of otherworldly kind of nature to it, that it fits so well to this narrative. Yeah, really impressed by the sound. And I'd love to hear what John has to say about it. Let's get back to him.
So you're back. I didn't say before, but I should do that. Steve dropped this comment in an episode that we did, Sebado Flame,
Okay.
to see this one. And so the nation waits with bated breath. Well, I say the nation, 42 viewers.
Very
Waits with
niche
bated
station.
breath. Yes. What did you think of this?
Um, well, I think I used the word intriguing to talk about the band name and the title of the song, obviously, and it was. All of this was really interesting. And I battled the whole time with my own feelings, sort of the visceral reaction you have when you hear something or see something for the first time or whatever. So it was hard to grapple with the this dichotomy of beauty in the music and how it sounded, and the absolute, like, horror and just sad nature of the story being told. So that was, and whenever a song makes you do that, or art makes you do that, or evokes it from you, then it's good, right? Like, that's got to be a good product. So I did really really enjoy this one. The cat's out of the bag on how I feel about it. I'll get a little bit into the nuance of the experience and my thoughts on the song right now. Like, it starts off with this really, like,
Sorry, Andy, can I just, before you start the song, I mean, I just dug up the link. I didn't have any clue, really. I didn't know what the song was about when I dug up the link. And I thought the video was exceptional as well. Really powerful in terms of the imagery. It wasn't on the nose imagery all the time.
Yeah,
Generalized, but I thought the video with the song together just went really well.
it did.
Powerful as well.
It did. And I was curious if this was like a fan made video.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. It had that feel to it, but a fan that knew what they were doing with it. Maybe didn't have all the resources, but they knew what they wanted to do with it, and it was interesting, and that, like, lent to the experience too, I think. With some of the faces that you would see pop up, you can imagine perhaps who they represented in the story, whether it was the victim or the perpetrator, and everyone in between. There's allusions to the family as a whole as well, so you see other aspects that might fill in those blanks too. So yeah, no, the video was well shot. Well, it was all well put together, well edited to match the song. Yeah, it does have this like country blues kind of aesthetic to the sound.
Yeah.
And this begins to take shape like pretty much right out of the gate. We've got these twanging picked guitars, really sullen and morose violin strings that might as well just be called heartstrings with the way they're played. They really pull it from you. And there's this judiciously placed kind of almost ominous thrum from the bass that you would catch at the right gap in music. You know what I mean? It's filling in where maybe the guitar stops and before the violin really doesn't. It's like it just fills all these spots like spackle. And that was really lovely to hear. And I should say, like, this is where I talk about the visuals in my notes, that the visuals, they don't do much in the way of lightening the mood. But they do fit the sound of the music. And it appears to be like these different images of people and mostly children kind of during this Dust Bowl era, or perhaps like sharecroppers in a post-bellum United States, southern United States, which I thought was very interesting too, as we just talked about, and what you can kind of like let your imagination do just with these quick visages that are like popping up on your screen. And we were treated to like some really gruff, nearly spoken word delivery from the singer, who I gotta say also has a bit of that like outlaw country to his delivery. We talked about this in the murder by death video that we recently did, where you were picking up like Johnny Cash and maybe even some Willie Nelson type sounds. This sounded very Johnny Cash to me when I was listening to it, and I'm a sucker for Johnny Cash, so this is like that's the one real niche of or subgenre of country music that I love, and it just sounded right out of central casting for that era of country music. Around the 106 108 mark, there is this faint fading wail buried just a bit in the mix, and it subtly underscores the subject matter that the song title suggests. And I really, really liked that. It's just a minor moment. And I noticed it coming and going after that as well. But that was like the first time it really stuck out to me. I wasn't listening to the lyrics and the voice as much at that point, and I just loved it. And then less than like 20 seconds later, the male singer is joined by this breathy, almost flinty female voice that adds richness and depth to the vocals, and her voice adds even more of that intrigue to the mix. There's this curiosity kind of stirred within me when she sings, but it's also seasoned with a little bit of like unease or trepidation as well. Like, could this be the voice of the girl? You know what I mean? And that's what makes it kind of eerie, and the whole thing kind of gives you the ick sometimes. And beneath both voices, and in the music, there is this wavering but sustained, higher pitched sound. Perhaps a theremin, I don't know, but it only acts as a fortifying agent to the unease I just spoke of. Like, there are all these little touches that they're using to further fortify this feeling of like supernatural, ghostly kind of vibes, which all is just like it's like, here's the song, now let me highlight it in bright yellow, and it enhances everything, right? So yeah, you hear that sound, and you're the more I'm listening to the lyrics, and they're pretty clear. There's like a lascivious underbelly to this song, and maybe not even the underbelly, maybe it's the whole goddamn thing. But the latter bit of the song features both the singers kind of vocalizing some vowel sounds, some oohs and some ahs, which again are like the noises you would associate with maybe like something that goes bump in the night, or something inexplicable, like how could that sound be generated. um and the song kind of picks up in fervor a little bit, but nothing crazy, nothing manic. It's just, you just feel the intensification occurring.
Yeah.
And this goes on for quite a stretch. And then we are treated to some more beautiful violin throughout this as well. Like that kind of soars. Um, and then the music is stripped back, and we're treated to what I believe is a repeated delivery of the first verse. And the song comes to an end. So like overall, the lyrics, they're not doing anything to contradict my feelings about the nature of the music. They tell a very dark and sad story, one whose content matches the sound of the packaging perfectly. And it appears to be the sad tale of a teenage slave or an indentured servant who has been mistreated by the white plantation owner or landowner, who, as I mean, they say it plain as day, they have regency over the family in some way, shape, or form. Like I said earlier, I don't know if this is like post-slavery, but it's still this idea of sharecropping, where a white person who of wealth owns a large bit of land and leases it off to someone. It was just a way around, really, slavery at the time, and it's what the South did to kind of assuage these new rules that have been, and regulations. So kind of got that vibe from it, and it's just sad. It sounds like this girl was tired, sick and tired of the attention and the treatment that she was getting from her perpetrator, which sounded like, with allusions to him being on top of her, sexual in nature and unwanted. So it sounds like she flees to a well and attempts to hang on the inner wall and loses her grip, and her tears become one with the water within, and she perishes there, and that's the ghost of the girl in the well. And I have no certainty that this anecdote is based on actual events, but what I can tell you is that I would be more inclined to believe that it was than it wasn't. And that is kind of fucked up and sad for me to admit. But I'm almost ashamed to admit also that, given the subject matter, that I found this song to be like beautiful in all of its morbid and haunting packaging and presentation, right? Like, this is what I started off with saying, and when I came back, it's a weird inner struggle that you go through as well, and I think that's a good thing. I think it is. And the word haunting, which obviously connotes images of thoughts of ghosts, is a perfect one to describe the music and aura of this track. Almost every aspect of its sound complements its subject matter in such a well-packaged fashion, and I couldn't help to love it, even against my better judgment, because of the heaviness of the subject matter.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get into the band and stuff in a sec, but yeah, I think for me this was an absolute winner. So much so I've downloaded the album and I'll be listening to it tomorrow. I'm just really, really impressed with it. Yeah, I mean, you covered it really well, points I would say, but this, I think there's a couple of things. That haunting, traumatized violin sound was like an extra layer of torment. And you get this idea, whether it's she's hanging or whether she's been disposed into the well, which I can imagine both scenarios. I know she talks about hanging on, whether that's a sort of metaphor of life or physically hanging on, but the idea of being tossed down a well, like litter almost. There's almost a medieval sort of imagery of like what you would get at the bottom of the well, like it's the gateway to the underworld. You see it in your mind's eye straight away. It's all brick, and then there's sort of brackish water at the bottom, and it's all sludgy and horrible, like full of monsters and demons, and also Country Death Song came to mind. Violent Femmes. I threw my child into a bottomless pit. She screamed as she fell, but I never had a hit. Yeah, this is an absolute winner for me. And you're right, it is, traumatic in terms of content, but it's beautifully executed. And the guy's voice as well. I absolutely loved it. He's got that quality, and it doesn't sound the same with Johnny Cash, obviously, but people like Tom Waits, although it's a different style, but he has that quality to his voice, and Nick Cave does as well, and Leonard Cohen. These deep voices that have all this rich emotion, and it's not always it's not sort of broadcasting it out, but you can feel the ripples of this emotion in his voice. So I think it's superbly done. Um, and the other thing was the overall imagery was I felt quite Steinbeck. You can imagine that straight away. And so the Dust Bowl from Grapes of Wrath through to all the other stuff. And that's, I love Steinbeck. So that just put me there straight away. And like you, I wasn't sure if this was pre or post slavery, but it kind of doesn't matter, as you say. It's power relationship, isn't it? So, whether it's, efficient in terms of slavery or just economic, it makes no difference, really. The same
Yeah.
end
I
results.
mean, I'm sure plenty of the things that occurred during the antebellum era was still happening in the postbellum era in the immediate wake of the Civil War and all the intricacies and laws tied to it and all that stuff. So yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Still happened in the 60s. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So Willard's Grand Conspiracy, WGC, was an alt country band based originally in Boston, Massachusetts, and then later near Palmdale, California, the US of A. 1995 until 2016. So the band operated as a collective with vocalist and songwriter Robert Fisher, the only permanent member throughout its existence. Fisher's voice and Americana style have been compared to both John Cale and Johnny Cash, with most of the songs being acoustic in nature. So yeah, it was formed in Boston in 95 by Robert Fisher and Paul Austin. The two have previously collaborated since the early 80s in the band Laughing Academy. Yeah, I didn't know it either. First in Portland, then Boston, with various collaborators. The band were briefly renamed the Flower Tamers before dissolving. You can see why. Fisher and Austin added guitarist Sean O'Brien to record their debut album, 3 a.m. Sunday at Fortune's Otto. And they issued it on their own record label, Dahlia label. And then for 1998 album, Flying Low, the trio added James Apt on guitar, David Michael Curry viola, Eric Grote mandolin, and Matt Griffin bass. So over subsequent years, there have been over 30 other musicians occasionally contributing to the band, to both the 10 studio albums and live performances, of which 5 were captured as live albums as well. So this is from their 6th album, Regard the End, 2003.
2003.
Recorded in Slovenia and featured, amongst others, this is for the whole album, not this is a track, but Kristin Hersh, as well as Chris Ekman of the Walkabouts. It received critical acclaim, with Uncut Magazine naming it Album of the Month. AllMusic wrote, beginning with a traditional River in the Pines, the group establishes the last log in the fireplace warmth that has fueled their previous outings, creating an alternative universe of sepia-toned dread. The Ghost of the Girl in the Well is a definite highlight, led added weight by string players Josh Hillman and David Michael Curry, who wrap their bows around Kristin Hersh's reedy voice, eventually giving way to Fisher's mournful crooning. They manage to appear out of nowhere in your living room, play an intimate set, and invoke every ghost from a 20-mile radius through your front door before leaving as quickly as they came. That's a great review.
Yes.
Their albums have been described as experimenting with country and psychedelic sounds and blues and punk. Well, Regard the End, which many fans and critics see as their masterpiece, upgraded several traditional songs and merged them with a rock sound. And just as by the way, there's a track on the album called Soft Hands, which was used in the Fowley Brothers film Stuck on You, about the conflicting conjoined twins. Always very tastily done, the Fowley Brothers. So there you go. On this album, personnel: Robert Fisher, acoustic guitar, vocals; Simon Alpin, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, mandolin, vocals; Kristin Hersh, vocals on this track. She is the lady from the Throwing Muses.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked her voice out in this track. Quite often you can tell her voice, and I'm quite familiar with it, but it was just there. But great job. Chris Ekman from the Walkabouts, grand piano guitar. Pete Sutton, bass. And Nathan Logus, drums, percussion. Josh Hillman, violin. David Michael Curry, viola, saw, vocals.
Oh,
Dennis
Saul.
Cronin, yeah.
That was the wavering sound that I was. Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
I was waiting, like, what is he going to say that was that goddamn sound? Because it was so interesting.
Dennis Cronin, trumpet. Drew O'Doherty, electric guitar. Jess Klein, vocals. Blake Hazard, doesn't say what he did, from the Submarines, and Paul Austin from the Transmissionary 6. So I've got the lyrics here. I'm the ghost of the girl in the well, killed by a man who owned my family.
Mm-hmm.
It's been many years since I fell, so many years, but still no one has found me. I was 14 years old when I died. The earth had turned and the fields were alive, so alive. Mister called out to me and I ran. I didn't want to be under him anymore. I'm the ghost of the girl on the well. I was trying to hide when my fingers slipped. In the darkness I cried, oh how I cried, all these tears taken by the water. I'm the ghost of the girl in the well, killed by a man who owned my family.
Yeah, that's heavy shit, man. Traumatic is
It is.
a good word that you used to describe.
Yeah. It's just on the other notes here. So Kristen Hurst's voice is both light and wretched and eerie, as you said, and appropriate sort of ghostly echo. And it's the character's still deferential, still calling him Mister. You don't know what else, And all these tears taken on the water, you said, the idea of her tears adding to the water of the well, and then people down the line literally drinking her misery.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just yeah. And how, as I say, howling lament for of those vocalizations you talked about for the lost and the shackled. It was like a lamentation at that point. Yeah, and yeah. So just to finish off the story, in 2003, Fisher returned to live. So it must be just after this album. I returned to live in his home state of California. Willard Grant Conspiracy toured extensively in 2005 and 6, visiting 23 countries. They continued to tour in the US and occasionally in Europe and the UK until 2016. And Fisher and Curry also toured together as a duo. And Fisher has performed solo. Yeah, just to finish, Robert Fisher died of cancer on February the 12th, 2017, aged 59.
Oof.
So there you go. That's Willard Grant Conspiracy. So
just great shout by Steve. You said Steve Chandler, right? Yeah, this was this is probably going to be at some year-end list, I would imagine, at least from my perspective right now. This was a great song. It's a sad song. It's sad to hear about the mastermind behind it. It's all just kind of but it was a great experience regardless of all of that. It was just really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Hit hard with me. I absolutely loved it. Thanks a lot, Steve. So I shall wrap things up and say thanks to listeners, Andy. Thanks again, Steve, for recommending it. And folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this effort, please hit the like button. It helps us move up lists and things like that, along with the views. And drop some comments. Tell us what you think about this. I'm sure there's many of you out there who have more knowledge of WGC than we do. That would not be hard. But now I've heard it, there ain't no going back. I'm definitely going to be diving into this band. So yeah, please drop your comments and let us know what you think. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody who supports this channel. Numbers are moving onwards and upwards, surely and steadily. Yeah, again, we really appreciate everyone that comes on board this crazy train. And remember, drop some comments about things you'd like us to listen to and any of our episodes, and it could be your track that we're listening to one Friday in the not too distant future, if the world hasn't ended already. So on that bright note, I will say thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.